Good morning and welcome to Reform UK's press conference about the cladding scandal, which is so topical at the moment. Now, imagine you've got a car and your car manufacturer writes to you and says your steering wheel is faulty and dangerous. But it's not their fault. Oh no, it's the supplier's fault. So you complain to your warranty provider. And the warranty provider says, but because someone else inspected the car at delivery, you, the customer, are at fault. And you must pay for its replacement or you may die. This is the essence of the cladding scandal. The only person not at fault is the homeowner. And yet they are the victims who are sometimes being forced to pay tens of thousands of pounds whilst the wrongdoers run for the hills. It's believed that over 1 million people are affected and they're forced to pay for 24-hour fire patrols, penal insurance costs. They cannot sell their homes, the value of those homes has collapsed, they face negative equity, huge bills to remedy fire and safety failures at the time of construction. And it means that knowingly, this government is forcing tens of thousands of people into bankruptcy. Now, the cladding scandal, in reality, it's the product of decades of failure. Firstly, by government, due to weak building regulations that were badly enforced by inspectors, some of whom were too close to the house builders. Secondly, by the house building industry itself, which I'm afraid has a long track record of poor customer service and poor quality of construction. But cleverly, they created a veneer of comfort by establishing an industry warranty insurance provider who were called the National House Building Council, or NHBC, and they launched this a long time ago, back in 1936. Now, I've been involved in building new homes over 3 decades, so I've seen this firsthand over those 30 years. The truth about construction is that it is difficult, and over time new technologies come along, and sometimes, yes, there are problems. 80 years ago it was the new wonder material asbestos that turned out to be a major problem. 60 years ago it was high alumina cement. 40 years ago it was timber-framed housing. And now, over the last 20 years, it's cladding. The whole point of a warranty insurance scheme is to protect against exactly this sort of issue. Which takes me on to the NHBC. The NHBC warrants some 80% of all new homes, and they proudly in their accounts describe themselves, and I quote, "The purpose is to build confidence in the construction quality of new homes by addressing, inspecting and directly insuring new homes." They go on to say, "We use our unrivalled expertise to improve the construction quality of new homes and to provide protection for the homeowners who purchase them." That all sounds very good, doesn't it? But the truth is, in the industry, the NHBC is known and viewed simply as marketing gloss for the house builders, who historically had seats on the board and very, very close links. The NHBC is simply not good enough. The chance of a successful claim is very, very low. Their response times are poor. You've only got to look at Trustpilot, where they've got a score of just over 1 out of 5 from hundreds of unhappy customers. This is simply unacceptable in such an important part of our economy. I put it to you, the car industry and their customers wouldn't put up with it, nor should the house building industry and homeowners have to put up with it. The NHBC has been almost silent in this scandal, despite insuring large numbers of the buildings involved. Now, I've asked, but they've refused to answer my questions about how many buildings they've got claims against, how many warranty customers are involved in those potential claims, and how many buildings the NHBC, have refused claims against. But it is clearly a large number based on discussions with leaseholders, what you read in the press, and on social media. The NHBC have conceded that they've accepted claims on just 20 buildings, bearing in mind they insure 80% of all new homes. Now, the NHBC is a not-for-profit entity. It doesn't have shareholders, nor does it pay dividends. And it has reserves and assets of £1.9 billion. I repeat, it has reserves and assets of £1.9 billion. Now, the lack of transparency is shocking. They spend more time in their latest report and accounts talking about topping up their pension scheme than they do about how to help customers resolve their cladding claims. Now, the government's proposals to resolve this cladding scandal, which were confirmed by whipping votes in the House of Commons last week, they are woefully inadequate and they are deeply discriminatory, not only in terms of the height of the building, but also location. Now, they're only going to cover leaseholders for buildings over 18 metres in height. So they are deliberately penalising those in buildings a few centimetres lower in height, even though they're suffering exactly the same problems on buildings above 18 metres. Now, the Secretary of State responsible, clearly, he doesn't have any cladding in any of his 4 homes, so he's untroubled by this crisis. But the government's proposals, they do not cover many of the fire safety failures, installation problems at the time of construction. They don't cover the extra waking watch costs or the extra insurance costs, and nor do the proposals use this opportunity to address the future long-term warranty scheme in order to enable a better response in the next couple of decades when inevitably the next problem emerges. But we're Reform UK. We have a simple 3-part solution that deals with all of these issues. Firstly, we've got a long-term funding and warranty solution. Secondly, we've got a guarantee that leaseholders, homeowners, don't pay for cladding and fire safety related issues. And thirdly, the principle is clear. The polluter pays. The industry must pay its way. So let's look firstly at the long-term funding and warranty solution in some more detail. We believe that there should be an Act of Parliament set up that sets up a new warranty company, which would be called the New Homes Warranty Scheme. And this new company would absorb the whole of the NHBC with its 1.9 billion of reserves and assets, and then the government would match that by injecting additional cash to create a total of £4 billion for this new warranty scheme company. And this new body will have 2 clear responsibilities. Firstly, it will take operational and financial responsibility for implementing the resolution of the cladding crisis. It will launch a compulsory new fit-for-purpose warranty scheme for all future new UK house building with a fee of 1% of the sale price, which is paid by the home builder, the house builder, not by the homeowner. The gap between the New Homes Warranty Scheme's £4 billion that I just referred to and the total cost, which of course in truth is unknown, would be met by loans from the government to the NHWS, and this will be repaid over time by the significant surplus from those ongoing new homes fees. So secondly, our proposals will guarantee that leaseholders don't pay for cladding or fire safety related items. The new body would meet the cost of these claims for all buildings, whether they were new or refurbished, that were impacted by this crisis, regardless of height or age, done over the last 25 years. and it would pay all past and future fire watch claims, all the extra penal insurance costs over the previous normal insurance cost. It would pay all verifiable, reasonable legal costs incurred so far by claimants. And then critically, it'll pay the full costs of all remedial works for poor installation or missing safety items that failed to meet the relevant standards at the time of installation or that was material of wrong specifications. And then it would also pay the full remedial cost to replace cladding materials that either shouldn't have been used in the first place or were subsequently found to be dangerous. The net result of this plan is quite rightly that no property owner, no leaseholder will suffer financial loss from these installation failures. And there must be an independent arbitrator to rule on the inevitable disputes between buildings, house builders and the new scheme. Now, house builders still in business must accept their share of the blame. They must pay the costs for the buildings that they developed over the last 25 years. And there has to be a penalty that if they don't, then they have no more planning consents issued. This ensures that the principle of polluter pays is valid in what is such a vital component, such a vital part of both our economy and, crucially, of so many people's lives. So how do we pay for all this? Well, the total cost in reality is unknown. Huge numbers have been mentioned at 10 to 15 billion pounds. And the costings are that the 1% fee for all new homes going forwards, if you assume about 200,000 new homes and the average new home sale price is about £250,000, then what you arrive with that 1% fee, you have an annual income of £500 million approximately. So depending on what the total cost is, and that will evolve, so it might take 10 to 20 years or a little bit more to repay the government loan. But it has to be done, and this is the fair and, in my view, the right and proper way. So in summary, Reform UK, we are the only political party that is providing a clear, fair, detailed and long-term plan. And to summarise our three-step solution, it gives a long-term funding and warranty solution, a guarantee that homeowners and leaseholders don't pay for cladding and fire safety-related issues and items. And thirdly, the principle is clear. The polluter pays, the industry pays if they're still in business and trading going forwards. And finally, crucially, it provides new home buyers with a long-term warranty solution and the right level of confidence going forwards that's been so badly damaged. So, that concludes the presentation. I think we may have, we've got a question here. Helen Gregory, I think we've got a question. Helen, hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Richard. I'm sorry if my audio isn't very good.
No, that's
Can you
fine.
hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Excellent, okay. I wondered if you, obviously we write for Landlords, it's Landlords Zone, my website. Have you had any feedback or input from landlords, leaseholders in relation to the proposals that you've come up with?
Well, as you know, Helen, it's a great question. Of course, landlords can be so varied. It can be almost like one of these investment companies that just owns the ground rents. Sometimes you might have leaseholders that have bought their own freehold. There's such a wide range. Inevitably, most of the time, the house builders themselves still no longer own the freehold. We haven't had specific discussions with landlords, but with my 3 decades of experience, I know what some of those landlords are like, and very often they haven't got the leaseholders' interests at heart. And the way these ground rent investment companies are set up, they don't have huge balance sheets to be able to fund this thing. And that's why this solution, it works. It essentially takes those landlords out of the equation. And I think, given the circumstances, this is the only way. In a sense, those landlords, those ground rent investment companies, in truth, they relied on the warranties, they relied on the specifications and the house builders in the same way that the leaseholders did. So it's a very varied group, and you'll know lots of them. But I think our proposals, in a sense, they overcome that and they deal with the root of the problem and into the future. Does that help, or does...
Yes, it does. And obviously, we write for a lot of smaller landlords as well, buy-to-let investors. So for them, I would imagine that, you know, this would be good news if they buy into your idea. Yeah,
that's right. Because obviously, they might have bought the long leaseholds on, you know, a number of flats in a particular development, and for them, you know, this is a huge problem. And again, they've been so let down because they've relied on the warranty. They've relied on the expertise of the house builder. You know, the building regulations, the inspections, you know, they've done all the right thing. They've ticked all the boxes when they took out a buy-to-let mortgage, and they too have been badly let down.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Helen. I think now we've got Melissa Lawford from the Daily Telegraph. Hi, Melissa, morning.
Hi, I was wondering if you could go into a bit more detail on the form of the government loans that homeowners will get before the developers pay. How can buildings apply for these? Who will they be paid to? Who manages them?
A great question, thank you. So the government loan will be paid to the new home warranty scheme, not to the homeowners. Okay, so it's the scheme itself, the overarching warranty body that receives the loan from the government. So the buildings only have to apply to one place, which is the new homes warranty scheme, so that it's simple and easy to organise. So the government will loan whatever is necessary to the new umbrella body. So initially it would have 4 billion, and as I said, we don't know where that cost will end up, but any surplus the government will lend to the new homes warranty scheme. So they're not making individual loans to individual buildings or properties, but just to the umbrella scheme.
And then will that scheme manage the remediation works and the cost of the remediation works directly rather than making a payment to the managing agent or a contractor?
They would be responsible for funding it, and the individual buildings and the managing agents, they'll have to organise the contracts themselves and get approval from the new homes warranty scheme, and then the new homes warranty scheme would fund all of those payments. But in terms of getting the works actually done and organising it, that'll have to fall on to the freeholders of the individual buildings, because they'll know the specifics of their building, and different buildings will move at different speeds inevitably. It's just the way it works out, isn't it?
And then I just had a quick second question. With the initial 4 billion of funding, I mean, I think it's my view that maybe 15 billion is quite a conservative estimate of the total costs. How could you expand a little bit more on the cash flow? What happens when that initial 4 billion has been used up?
So when that's used up, that's when the government makes the loans to the new homes warranty scheme, and they will just have to keep loaning in. But obviously it's making a surplus every year from future new home sales, which I believe will be about £500 million a year. So it's got to lend money in, because inevitably there'll be a huge initial cost as the buildings are repaired and remediated over the next 2, 3, 4 years. You know, it will sadly take some time, as you know, just physically doing it. So the government keeps lending money in, but equally the surplus will be used to repay the loans, or indeed to pay some of the bills. So the key thing is, though, that the scheme will always have enough money to make sure, as quickly as practically possible, that the buildings are repaired and remediated, because that's the only way you cut the cost of the insurance, the fire watch, and also you then remove the blight that all of these buildings are now sadly suffering and facing, and the homeowners are facing.
Thank you.
So, and your article yesterday was really, I thought, very telling about what I call the discrimination between flats in sort of towns and cities in the north of the UK, where clearly the impact is going to be so much more significant on those homeowners, and so sadly they're much more likely to be forced into bankruptcy than people who may have flats in the south. And you're absolutely right. And I think it was the first time I'd seen that. Thanks, Melissa. Great. So I think hopefully that sets out in a clear way our plans. They're bold, they're ambitious, and we are the only political party that is solving the current problem and providing a long-term, clear, safeguarding future for future home buyers. Now, we're going to be campaigning on this important issue with leaseholders, with homeowners, through until the next general election. What we're absolutely clear is that we at Reform UK, we must make reform a reality. Thank you all very much indeed